Hi guys, welcome to the channel. So in this video, we will be discussing about screener and how to use screener as a tool for selecting stocks which we should study or selecting stocks which we should invest in. So we will be going over some of the important features which are available in screener for us to use. I have divided this video into two parts. So in one part, we will be discussing how to add new columns or how to add new ratios into our watch list. And the second part is creating screens of your own, modifying the existing screens, and also how to enable the notifications. So let's get started, guys. So as you can see here that in general, if I have not logged in, the home screen looks like this. Now if I search for a stock over here, let us say Apollo Tires. So when I go to the page of Apollo Tires, these are the default data which I am able to see. So I am able to see 9 values here: market cap, stock PE, ROC, ROE, book value, current price, the stocks high and low, the dividend yield, and face value. So these are the ratios which are by default enabled. But I can also add my own ratios over here, whichever things I want to look at or I want to focus on more. So I can add them to this snapshot. So as you can see that over here, I have logged into my account in Screener. Now if I search Apollo Tires here, you can see that there's a lot of data which is visible. I have also turned on promoter holding, how much promoters are holding, pledged percentage. I am also looking at earnings before taxes, and I have also turned on price to book value and PE to growth ratio. So as you can see that there are extra ratios which I have added. So here we can add anything which we like. So if we search for a ratio, so you can just type say industry PE or say DII holding. So you can see DII holding just came here. So you can add anything over here and that ratio will be added to your watch list. Now the same thing can also be done on your stocks columns. So if you click on edit columns over here, you can choose which columns you want to see. So as you can see that if I go back here, Apollo Tires and all its peers are listed over here, and we can see these many data. Now, if you have not logged in or you choose the default settings, even these columns are less. You can see that. So there is no operating profit margin over here, which I have added for my own use. So if you see over here, operating profit margin is added. So this is what I have added. Similarly, I have added profit growth over the last 1 year and profit growth over the last 3 years. So which is not there in the default settings. So you can click on edit columns, and when you go to edit columns, these are the columns which are already there. You can arrange them or sort them also, whichever you want first and whichever you want later. Along with that, you can turn on any other thing and it will be displayed as a column. So these are the most commonly used ratios, but you can also see other ratios, like there are ratios in cash flow, there are ratios like these. Now there are ratios in price. So there are a lot of ratios which are there. So you can turn on whatever you want to see. So if I turn on say sales last quarter and I hit save, you can see that sales last quarter is also displaying now. So this is how you can add extra columns to your watch list, and this is how you can add extra ratios or extra data to your quick view also. So now we will be discussing how to add a new ratio, how to create basically a new ratio, because these are all pre-existing, these are all calculated. You have just turned on their visibility. So you are able to see them, which a normal person who has not turned on any different settings, who has not changed anything, will not be able to see. Similarly, in your watch list, you have added extra columns which you want to focus more on. But what if there is a ratio which you know that you want to use it as a parameter, but it's not available in Screener? That also you can create. So for example, I am going to try to create a ratio called stock PE by industry PE. So as you can see that this is the stock PE of every stock. And I don't know what is the industry PE of this industry, but I want to know which stocks are having lesser PE than the industry and which are having higher PE than the industry. So that ratio is not easily available. We just have to add it to the watch list by creating it ourselves. So let's try that. So we'll go to edit ratios, and if you want to add any ratio which is already existing, that's there. but I'm not going to use these. I will go to create new ratio. So create new ratio shows the ratios which I have created for myself. So one of the ratios which I have created myself is the net current assets, which is current liability subtracted from the current assets. So this is something I like to look at, and it's not available. So I just calculated it myself and added it to my watch list. So you can see that if I go to say Infosys or if I go to any stock, you can see the net current assets is visible. This is created by me. Now similarly, we will try to create a new ratio. So let's create the ratio of, ratio name would be cheap. Let's call it anything. So I'm calling it cheapness factor. Short name, let's leave it as CHF. Ratio has no unit. We can choose any unit. Formula would be stock PE divided by industry PE. How cheap is a stock compared to its industry? Show preview. Now you can see the cheapness factor or whatever we can call it of HDFC Bank, State Bank. So it's giving us a preview of the ratio, and we will just click on save ratios. Now cheapness factor is also created. Now let us see if we are able to see this. You can see the CHF has come here. So this is how you can create your own ratios as well. So now we have covered adding the columns to the watch list. We have also covered adding the ratios which are pre-existing. We have also covered adding the ratios which are not existing and how to create. Now let us move to the second part, creating screens and modifying the existing screens and notifications. So let's just go to Screener home. You can see that there is a page here which says watch list updates. So it is updating me on all the stocks in my watch list, whatever has happened on them. So you can even add more companies to your watch list. So I have a watch list over here. It contains some stocks. So if there is any news in these stocks, it shows up on my feed. So everything which is in my watch list will have a, so everything which is there in my watch list, if there is any news regarding that, it shows up on my feed, and I can always turn on email, enable email updates to receive these summaries. So I don't even need to open Screener. I'll get the summary in my email itself. Now let's go to the tab called screens. As you can see, I have created some screens of my own, but now we will be trying to create a new screen. So let's create a new screen. Okay, so to create a new screen, first of all, we have to get some idea on what we want to do. So let us say that I want to research on companies which are small, but not very small. They should not fall in the small cap category, but they are not very large as well. So I will add a check of market capitalization. So creating this search query is basically like writing a query in your SQL or any other language, but it's much simpler. So now if you say market cap greater than say 1000 crore and market cap less than say 10,000 crore or 20,000 crore, this can be a very basic screen. Now if you run this query, it has resulted in 781 companies. So all of them have the market cap between 1000 and 20,000 crores. So the query is listed at the bottom here. Now if I want to add any other check, and let us say I want sales growth over the last 5 years should be minimum 10% or more. Let's see how this returns. So we have 781 stocks. If I am running this query, 781 becomes 251. Now let us try for an operating profit margin of greater than 5%, let's say. So you can see that almost all of them are back again. So only 2 stocks got removed. So 239. So similarly, you can continue to write more and more checks, and eventually you will be able to build a screen which you want. So let us add another check, and DII holding change is greater than 0. So basically where DIIs are buying, not selling or flat, greater than 0. So let's run this query, and suddenly it reduces to 81. Now maybe I want to study these 81 companies and try to figure out which one will I invest in, or I can add more checks. So now suppose I want to add another check for DII holding increasing or FII holding increasing. So either the DIIs should have increased their holding or FIIs should have increased their holding. So I'll just add an or condition. Change in FII holding is greater than 0. And since it's an or between these two, I am okay with any one of them being true. So I will enclose them in a bracket. And now let's see. So we have total 149 companies. And if I run this query, it's still 129. So basically none of the companies gets eliminated. So either the DII holding was increased or FII holding was increased. Now we can add more checks like this, but eventually if you want to save this screen, so after you have run the query, you can click here on save this query. And when you click on save this query, you can just name your screen as something and give it a description. And you can choose to make it public, or you want to keep it private, you can keep it private as well. So this is how you save a query. Now let's go back to the screens. So if you see the screens over here, there are already a lot of pre-created screens available for public use. So you can see some popular formulas, some popular themes, and you can even see some valuation screens. So you don't even need to create your screen. If you have some basic idea, you can just edit other people's screens. So let's show that. If you click on show all screens, these are the popular screens out there. Now I can open any of these. So let me open Peter Lynch stock screener. So someone has created this screen, and let's see what the query is being used. So he has written this query based on the principles of investment laid down by Peter Lynch. So PEG ratio should be less than 1, sales should be greater than 500, price to earnings less than 40, profit growth greater than 20. So he has written a query which resonates with Peter Lynch's style of investing. And then if I want any extra checks, I can just edit this query and make it my own also. So let's say price to cash flow, I don't like 5. I want to make it 9 or 10. I'll make it 10. I'll run the query, and I can save this query as my own. So all I did was modify the pre-existing query. I did not write my own. So there are a lot of screens which you can use. Similarly, you can see that I have used coffee can Offerman. So coffee can already has a lot of screens. You can see over here. Let me see, show all screens. Let me search in the screens. So when you go to the screens, show all screens, if there is a search box, just search for coffee. You can see that a lot of people have created coffee can portfolio style of screens. So let's open this coffee can portfolio. Some guy named Ashutosh has created this screen, and what is the query? So this is the query: sales growth, ROE, and average return on capital employed with a market cap of greater than 1000. So if I don't want, or if I don't like any particular clause in this query, I can modify this and make it my own coffee can portfolio. Similarly, you can see other coffee can. So this person has added more conditions to the coffee can other than the ROE, ROC, and sales. He has added more conditions. So you can modify the queries, or you can write your own queries. But for whatever purpose you are trying to create a screen, there are high chances that some or the other similar screen will already be created. You just have to modify the query a little bit. So guys, now coming back to the stock research, let us talk about some of the common columns available over here in detail. So you can see that there is a button over here called insider trades in the shareholding pattern. This will list you whatever, whether insiders are buying or insiders are selling. So this was a newly added feature in screener, which is a good indicator on whether the insiders are reducing their stake in the company or increasing it. So this gives a good idea on what track the company is taking. and you can always expand the DIIs and FIIs to figure out who is buying and who is selling. So these are some of the details which were recently added into Screener. These insider trades were not there, and the details about DIIs and FIIs were not there earlier. Yeah, so I think that is all, guys. Pretty much this is all about how to add your own ratios or create your own screens in the Screener. And you can let me know in the comments if you have any other doubts. Maybe I'll be able to resolve them. Thank you, guys.